What's up, people? This is Kwame Selassie, the Black Baby Jesus, with a video. It's Halloween. I'm sitting here thinking about Halloween right now. While I'm in my natural environment, natural habitat, at the beach, just enjoying the weather. I do apologize if I scare people with my writing. I'm very intense when it comes to the writing, but I'm very nice in person. Anyway, let's talk about Halloween. Let's talk about a subject within the Halloween spectrum or sphere. We're going to talk about demons today. And I want to clear up what demons are, because there was this doctrine that was created back in the 1600s. The doctrine of demons, or demonology. And that doctrine has been used as a weapon to put a lot of fear into people. And as a matter of fact, the modern day horror genre is actually like a mirror of that belief system. These dark entities that seem to be outside of us is what the aim seems to, what it seems to give us. The message it seems to give us is that there's these entities that are without, that cause damage or cause trouble in our lives, haunt us, whatever perception people have of these entities, as we've seen them displayed inside of the films. Now, when you watch the films, these things are a bit grotesque, and they're made in a way to do that, to bring horror and fear. That is just what I call an emanation, actually, of what's inside of a person. This is where we get metaphysical. Whenever you see these movies or stories of extra-dimensional beings, or goblins, or ghouls, or ghosts, or devils, or demons, all these different things are really just emanations of what comes out of us. And that's why I'm going to talk about the 12 dimensions of consciousness, the kingdom of God, which is within you. Also, what is within you are darker dimensions as well. So these are things I have to explain in my book called 12 Dimensions of Consciousness, which I will come out with after I'm done writing it. However, I'm doing the podcast right now, which I will be restarting in a bit after I get to a better place because of the situation. But I'll talk about that later. Anyway, demons are projected, are emanation of what's in people. So the things that you see on the movie screens are just the emanations of what someone sees within themselves, and they write down on a piece of paper. And these things are shown on television screen, which then enter our minds and make us afraid. That's all that is. Now, when it comes to actual demons, I want to put another dimension onto it, because what I just talked about is a phenomenon that we experience in our lives as humans. But that's just one aspect of it. That's what I call the fourth dimensional astral aspect of it. These things you might see in dreams. These things you might experience in the astral dimension, which is also inside of you as well, which is called the fourth dimension of consciousness, which is those things that scare you, or those things that are in you, the astral realm, the dimension where there is a whole blanket around us of beings that are actually conscious, which I call conscious. Now, that's another topic for another day. I'm not going to get into the fourth dimension right now, but I want to talk about higher levels of consciousness beyond that. So when you step up to the fifth dimension of consciousness, when it has to do with the mind, which I'll break down another time, the mind is the battleground where demons actually play. It's in the psychological realm where demons have the most power. so many times we are afraid of these things on the outside coming to get us, when it's actually there are things that are inside us and people that we should be more concerned with. As I went down rabbit holes and rabbit trails, I'm talking about this more on my Instagram, some other posts, some other places, if you're following along. Instagram is the_black.hippie.jesus. If you are interested in looking at that stuff. What I've been talking about is the mind control programs that the United States government has been using on people for last 70 years now. It's debatable time periods when they started these things. Actually really goes beyond that, which I'll talk about when it gets to the religion aspect and all the other aspects of the societal aspects. Was a control grid that they set up psychologically to keep a whole herd of people in line. These things I have to break down, but you follow me, go along. It's not that scary. You just have to understand it. Once we understand things, then things clear up. And this is where I want to get to demons. Once we start to understand demons as not just beings on the outside, they have consciousness, but what they actually do is give us ideas, and that's all they can do. And when your mind is not in a state where it's aware of itself and how it thinks and how it receives information and processes information, you're always going to get tricked by beings of higher consciousness than you. Or any, I mean humans too. I'm not talking about just beings. I gotta try to separate this. But humans or people are also capable of manipulating the mind of other people, and that's what we've been doing, and what's been happening for quite a long time. So I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to state that the demons, and I'm going to break this stuff down later in Faith Deconstructed. Continue to follow along. When I started this ministry, Faith Deconstructed, to open the minds of everyone, as well as young people, especially our younger youth, to advance and develop their minds a little bit more. But the real truth about what demons are inside you, and they are the things which I was talking about, the MK Ultra mind control program, the things that get implanted in our minds by popular culture, by the things that are in our culture on our television screens, which those movies I talked about. These things are actually giving us ideas consistently, and they're implanting in our subconscious, and they appear in us, or they appear in our lives when we let them in. Now, for example, let's say you hear a continual saying over and over again. Eventually that's going to get into your subconscious, and when you hear that saying, you're going to think of whatever it is that was the origin point where that saying came to be. That's just for words. It's what we call, I'll get in that spells and different things that enter your ears and continue, and they sit there and they sit there and sit there and sit there until they actually start to manifest inside your being, inside your body. Another aspect is that there's also what's called the triggers. Now these can be, there's two types of triggers that I found, at least, are the trauma triggers you have. So let's say you had a bad experience with carnivals, for example, and let's say you went to a carnival when you were younger and you had a accident on a let's say a merry-go-round. You fell off the merry-go-round. If that type of thing happens to you and it's very traumatic for you, what's going to happen is that every time you think about merry-go-rounds, you're going to actually feel something similar to what you felt on that day, and that's what we call trauma. Now, this trauma is when you see the thing that triggers the trauma, you are afraid of it, you run from it, you get afraid of it, these feelings come into place, right? So there's that. There's that program, and then there's the implants, the intentional implants, where subliminals and different things are implanted in movies and music and different things, and propaganda, which we're going to talk about later with bug around me, we're going to talk about later with Edward Bernays and the architects of psychology today. There was a whole conference back in the early 1900s where they pretty much shaped the minds of where we are today. These bugs really like me today. I think it's because I got my oil here. I think they love this. Come on, go on, man. Okay. MK Ultra, these things are very real, very serious, and they actually put these things in our lives through mental implants over time, commercials, different things being blasted at us over and over and over again. And this is what we call psychological implants that have been implanted in the brain to be triggered. Once you see it, you react. Like, for example, let's say you grew up loving Nike, right? Every time you see the swoosh, it does something to you. It's a brand, it's branded into your mind. Every time you see it, you react. That is what we call MK Ultra mind control. Companies use this. They have us all hooked, like, on so many different levels to the things that are being pushed to make us continue to accept it. And this is why we have to continue to do deconstructions to figure out what's in us that makes us triggered. And this is where I get to the point of what a demon is. That thing in you that makes you react in a way that you're going to regret later. That is what a demon really is. Something that makes you come outside of yourself or react or act in a way that usually or typically will cause what I like to call not good fruit to be produced. And this is what we call demons. And these are actually what I call crazy people, actually. People drive them. Okay, back to discussion on demons. My camera got cut off. I did not charge my battery. So here I am back again. Back to discussion about demons. I want to reiterate and say, if this is something that is in you that has been put in your mind through experience or through some type of hearing some over and over again or whatever it may be that got in your mind, and it's embedded itself in your subconscious, and when you hear it, you react, and if the reaction is bad, that's what we call a demon implant in you, where it's making you behave in a way that is not something you're proud of. And I've had these in my life after I've been through deconstruction, or while going through deconstruction. I was able to find these things within myself by going through the shadow work, through this thing you have to do for you to deconstruct. You have to look at everything. And I found certain things within me which I was triggered by, that I looked at the origin point of when it came in there, and then I cast that demon out, you see. So this Halloween, I just want to put it out there that do not get too scared of what is without, but look within, because it is the thing that's within us that makes us act out in the world in a negative way. It causes negative vibrations, it causes negative impacts, it causes negative everything in our lives if we have something in us that has not been dealt with through a spiritual process. Now let me get to that. If you go through spiritual practice like meditation, like prayer, things like that, and you start to be more introspective. One thing I like to do is smoking weed definitely helps you be more introspective when you're sitting alone, not doing any stupid stuff, but using it for that spiritual experience. That's what it's for. You begin to do the shadow work easier as you meditate on yourself and your own issues and where they came from, how they got in there, and then start to do deconstruction, take it out, and doing the opposite. Every time you hear a certain word, you instead of react one way, like you always react, you transmute it to something else, and then you use that every time you hear that trigger word. No, I'm not going to react that way. I'm going to react this way, and then retrain yourself over time. So just to end this video real quick, it's Black Baby Jesus. Once again on YouTube here, I just wanted to do a video on Halloween and to cast those demons out of ourselves and not try to be afraid of all the spooky, evil things that are out there, even though the people who act like that, who are killing people or doing weird rituals and stuff like that, those people have something in them that is making them do that. They got in there at one point. That's the whole point I was talking about. But once again, Black Jesus, Kwame Selassie here. The awakening, the journey will continue once I get my new setup coming pretty soon. Had to dip from a place. I will tell that story later. But anyway, y'all be easy. Happy Halloween.